Alright, another retro review. I want to talk about my first DC animated film that I saw. The one that started it all. Well, not technically, but it was like the first good DC animated film that actually was in theaters. And that's Mask of the Phantasm. I think Paul Dini and Bruce Timm wrote it. I forget who directed it, but this was the one that started it all. Like, this movie was so good that it made WB see a lucrative market for this type of film. Animated film about DC characters. I think their mistake was putting it in theaters because not a lot of people went to go see it in theaters. But they came to the conclusion, hey, straight to DVD. Let the adults that want to see it buy it. Because that's mainly the people that are buying it are adults. It's rare that little kids are going to watch Mask of the Phantasm or any of these new DC animated films. Like, these films are just made for us, the hardcore fan. This film, to me, is not like the greatest DC animated film. Not by a long shot, I think it's really good. But going back and rewatching it now, the opening scene, the CG flying through the city, it looks bad. Like, it's 1990s CG and it looks bad. Like, I don't know why they just didn't hand draw that. I don't know why they didn't put the time and effort into making that look fantastic. It just looks bad and it's kind of like off-putting. It doesn't last long, but I kind of question why it's even there to begin with. But once it's over, the movie starts and the movie's good. To me, this movie doesn't feel like an ending to the Batman animated series. In fact, to me, it just feels like another episode, It's just another episode of the Batman animated series. And I don't mind that. I fucking love me some Batman animated series. I love that show. And this feels like an hour and a half Batman episode. Because the whole, and I'm going to spoil everything, of course, because you should have seen it by now. The whole story is about Bruce and he's falling in love with this woman. But the whole story is told in like this flashback form where you see Bruce falling in love with this young woman, and it's like this could save him from being Batman. Like, he doesn't have to be Batman. If he has somebody that loves him and is willing to spend the rest of her life with him, then he doesn't have a need to be Batman anymore, He doesn't feel the need to be Batman anymore. There's a just amazing scene, and I know I'm jumping right to it, but when he goes to the graveyard and he's crying at his parents' grave, asking them to let him not be Batman, asking them to take back the promise he made to them, It's just a super emotional moment. Me personally, as a Batman fan, after reading Batman comics and seeing all the animated series episodes and watching every Batman animated movie, that's a question Batman has never asked his dead parents, He's never once asked his parents if he could stop being Batman, He's never had that conflicting moment in the comics or anything. But in this animated movie, that's like the driving point, is that he wants to stop being Batman, and he is asking his dead parents, all right? Batman is mentally ill. I don't think there's any way around that. He's a mentally ill person. He's asking his dead parents if he can stop being Batman. And it's like the whole driving message of the movie, like, can he stop being Batman, or is he locked into this promise forever? And what ends up happening after seeing all these flashbacks is that you see that the girl he was falling in love with that decided to leave him in the flashbacks, like she decided to leave him in the flashbacks, but it really wasn't her choice. It was her father, and he was about to get killed, so they had to leave. And I think her dad dies anyway. And guess what? It's by a henchman that looks just like the Joker. So it's like a callback to the Tim Burton Batman movie, the first Batman movie, where you see a henchman that looks just like the Joker and acts just like the Joker. And he's the one that causes like this horrible event to happen to this girl's dad, thus creating the Phantasm. So like Joker created the Phantasm and Batman created the Joker. Like, it's like a little circle of life there, Oh yeah, big spoilers. The woman that Bruce is falling in love with, she ends up being the Mask of the Phantasm. She ends up being the Phantasm thing that is just whooping ass, and she's just killing people. And it really does a good job of making you think it's not her, because the body build of the Phantasm looks like a dude, and you really don't think for a second that's her. But when the revelation happens and she takes off her mask, it's a good moment. It's a good moment to have. It's a genuine surprise moment. in a DC animated film, you know? That usually doesn't happen anymore with these new ones because, you know, I'm a big Batman fan. I already know a lot of these twists and turns that are going to happen. Like with Under the Red Hood, like I already knew it was Jason Todd, you know, the whole time watching the movie. Of course, that didn't take away from the movie. I still think Under the Red Hood's an amazing movie. Since, you know, I'm a comic fan, I already know that stuff. And a lot of DC animated films now are just doing a comic book story arc. So if you read the comic book, you're going to know, like, all the big twists and turns that are going to happen. That's why I kind of envy people that just watch the DC animated films, because it's like you get to see a movie without being spoiled. Like, that's nice. And that's the good thing we could say about Mask of the Phantasm. Like, nobody knew where the story was going. There was no comic book that told you how the story was going to play out. It was a completely new story from Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's head, you know? And it's asked questions that Batman creators still don't ask, you know? What would happen if Batman found love and he wants out of the promise he made to his parents? Like, what would that Batman look like? And I think this film did a great job at showing that. Of course, all the voice acting's top notch. You still got Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy as Batman, you know. It's a great cast. And the voices are top notch. Like, I am not over exaggerating right now. It is an extended episode of the Batman animated series. That's what it is. So if you like watched all the episodes of that series and you want more, you gotta watch this movie, of course. Of course you gotta watch this movie. But, you know, that's what I gotta say about it. I think it's a great movie. It's the DC animated film that started it all, really. Well, at least started the thinking process for Warner Brothers that, yes, we can put out these animated movies and people are gonna watch it, you know. It's a pioneer in that respect, right? But it's not a perfect film. You know, there's some little things I don't like with it. Obviously, the opening with the CG, I don't like that much. All the modern day stuff with the Phantasm. It's cool to see this Phantasm thing killing people, but, you know, it really wasn't like nothing like mind-blowing, you know. It was the flashbacks in the movie that got me. Like, that's the part I loved the most, was the flashbacks to Bruce and his relationship with this woman we don't know anything about, and he's falling in love with her, and he's asking his parents for permission to stop being Batman, you know. I think that was some of the best stuff in the whole movie. So just based on that, I would have to give the movie like a 4 out of 5 stars. Because what stops it from being like a 5-star one is that it's really not like it's really not like a standalone thing. Like it's, I would say you would have a much more, I would say you would have a better time watching this movie if you've seen the Batman animated series. If you've seen that series, you would have a much better time watching this film. So on that respect, it's not really like a standalone thing. And it does feel like a long episode of the Batman animated series. Now, to me, that's not like a bad thing. But if you wanted a Batman story that was its own thing, had nothing to do with anything else, then this isn't the story, you know? This has a direct tie with the animated series. You know, same art style, same voice acting, same writers. But a good story. Could they have done this movie into like 4 parts on the Batman animated series, you know? Yeah, they could have made this movie into 4 parts and put it on Cartoon Network, you know? That's probably another reason why I would give it like 4 out of 5 stars, you know? But, yeah, like for a first DC animated film, it's legendary. You need to watch it if you haven't seen it. Like, I just rewatched it recently to make this video, and it was like the first time I've seen the movie in like almost like 5-10 years. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. And it's not one I really go back to, but I still think it's great. I could still like see it for a great film that it is. A great storyline, you know. But I think what would have made it better and what would have put it over the top is making it its own thing, you know. Making it its own art style, new voice actors. I think that would have made the movie better. It would have made it feel like an Elseworld thing. Which, you know, not every Batman story has to be that, but I think it would have helped this story specifically, you know. Because at no point in the animated series does it talk about this woman Batman's fallen in love with, right? And at no point in the animated series do you get any hint that that has happened, you know? So that's what makes it feel like it's not really connected to the universe, but since it has the same art style and has the same voice actors, that's what makes it feel like it's in the same world, you know? If that makes any sense. What do y'all think about the movie? Have you seen Mask of the Phantasm? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know down below. This is the first of many retro reviews of DC anime films I'm going to do. I hope to be caught up by the end of this year, so bear with me. And that's it for now. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.